Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to Entre Architect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Today at the podcast, I'm joined by Altaf Ghanihar, founder of Snaptrude, a revolutionary design tool for architects. As a tech startup with more than $21 million raised, Altaf's journey began in geometry and computer graphics research. Recognizing our challenges as architects with outdated tools, he developed simple plugins to solve our problems. But saw the need for a complete overhaul to the entire design ecosystem, which led him to Snaptrude, combining the simplicity of SketchUp with the power of BIM. Join me today as we dive into Altaf's transformation and his vision and his impact with Snaptrude on shaping the future of architecture. Altaf, great to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast.
Yeah, this will be fun. I always love talking about the future. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. And so this is going to be a very interesting conversation. The tool that you've developed is a really interesting tool. And I know that you have some ideas about what you think the future of design software looks like. And so I'd love to share that with our audience today. But before we do that, I want to know more about you. So Altaf, when did you discover your passion for what you do, and who or what inspired you to get started doing it?
Sure. As you mentioned in my introduction, I come from an academic research background, specifically focused on geometry and computer vision, that area. And this was pre-machine learning and AI being the heart of the topic. It was a lot of math first principles. And I was very fortunate to work with architects on one such academic project. We were trying to reconstruct a very old UNESCO World Heritage site from ground up in 3D, and then eventually 3D print it out so that it could be part of the tourism department and bunch of museums. We were able to complete this project, but during this process is when I got very close to seeing how architects work and what does the design software stack look like. How does one go from early stage design to later stage design, then eventually to construction. And I started seeing that there's a lot of data silos which appear over here, and there are a lot of inefficiencies. And I was just curious enough to start playing around with some hobby projects. And those hobby projects were building plugins on top of existing tools like SketchUp, Revit. And I just started speaking to bigger and bigger architectural firms, more construction firms, and the other parts of the industry. I saw that everybody resonated with the problems which I was articulating in my head. And I saw that in the last 2 decades, the world has changed. Every other industry which we can think of has moved to the cloud. Internet wasn't really a big thing in late 90s, early 2000s. Now it's like everywhere, and how we leverage it. But our tools have not yet evolved at that rapid pace. And it's inevitable it's going to happen in this next decade is what I was able to conclude. And that compelled me to rethink my academic career aspiration. And as I said, let's see where this goes. It's inevitable that somebody is going to build a new design software system for the coming decade to come. Why not it just be us? Let's just start building. And in 2017, we got started with a modern design tool, which is on the browser or cloud first. And our core thesis was, since there's so many disconnected workflows within the design to construction workflows, like collaboration, which is such an essential part of going from design to construction, because there's so many people, so many stakeholders involved, right from architects to contractors to engineers. They find it very, very hard to collaborate. And we always see this lack of connectedness in data, lack of connectedness in tools. Interoperability is such a famous problem which has been in existence for the last 2 decades. How do we keep the core focus of the tool to solve these problems, which is connect people, connect data, and connect the tools which they are all using in a very intuitive cloud-first environment, so people don't feel the pain to transition? And in 2017, as I said, we got some early venture capital money. Axel Partners put in a very small check. It was a very small team, but we got started and we grossly underestimated how complex it is to build in this space. And a tool which has that level of sophistication. We initially thought it might take 2, if not 3 years to get to a reasonable product, which is usable. It has just ended up taking over 5 years for us to get to that point. But that entire journey has been that you keep discovering new insights and you keep realizing and appreciating the profession of details, because everybody starts comparing AEC to manufacturing, automobile manufacturing, and other industries. But I see that as I've spent more and more time, this industry is a lot more unique. The devil is in the details, and it's way more complex than any other industries that we try and compare it with. And hence, this industry deserves tools and technology which is built for this industry, not necessarily just inspired from manufacturing, mechanical CAD. And that's what we saw in late 90s. Most of the ideas and technologies were very much inspired from what succeeded in manufacturing CAD and said, like, let's apply it to AC. But I think this industry deserves its own spectrum and focus, which is what we have been trying to give.
So for some context, I want to go back to the basics of what you're doing. The big three design software, right, that architects use. There's Revit, there's ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, right? Those are the three that most architects are using, especially in our community of small firm architects. With Snaptrude, are you designing and developing Snaptrude to be a totally new replacement of those tools, or is this supplementary and complementary to those tools?
So I would look at it today as a complementary tool to the existing BIM ecosystem, which includes these tools. But our focus area is the inefficiencies which exist in a design firm. They stem from losing data which is created at early stages to later stages, because most of the people feel Revit is exceptionally good at documentation. But when you start a design project, it's very, very inflexible to start with a BIM mindset.
Right.
You start in SketchUp or Rhino and then eventually go. And you are faced with this problem of having to redraw everything. This is a very simple problem, but like if you look at it in a more 30,000 feet level, the entire design to construction workflow from an outside perspective looks linear, but it's highly non-linear and iterative. And those non-linearities in a system where you have to redraw things, where the data gets missing, where people are disconnected, those non-linearities really compound the inefficiencies. And those inefficiencies at the end of the day are unbillable hours which a firm faces. Can we actually help you address those inefficiencies? Can we help you connect the non-linear workflows in a way that you can iterate faster without having to lose data? Iterate faster by connecting everybody on the same page. Like you're not referring to version number 7 of this file or version number 3. Everybody's on the same page. And connecting the data which comes out of every design decision you take. With every wall that you move, it impacts your cost of the project. It impacts the schedule of areas, which impact the zoning code. It impacts sustainability metrics. These most likely are either computed by specialists like a computational design team in bigger firms. But most of the mid-size and small-size firms can't always leverage that skill. And either these decisions are left on intuition, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, or are done at much later stages where all the design decisions have been taken and it's basically a retroactive kind of validation, which again is not the right approach. So can we bring the ability to take informed decisions by connecting data at the heart of it? And this is how we are supplementing the workflow. So not trying to build in isolation by working with existing tools, by bringing people on the same page and by bringing the data and the design feedback loop, we want to help people remove the inefficiencies in their day-to-day execution and digital delivery mechanism of designs.
So we're bringing the entire design team to one platform on the cloud. Everybody's working on the same models, sharing the same data from the same place. There's no replication or redundancy anywhere. It's all the same tools and the same resources.
Exactly. And you can collaboratively edit. It's like Google Sheets versus Excel. When you first started using Google Sheets, you imported the Excel file and you started collaboratively editing with your colleagues. And you eventually were able to download the Excel workbook to continue doing some complex stuff or maybe taking it to advanced stuff. That's our exact intention.
Right. So your team can be distributed, right? Can be anywhere in the world. And you could be working on the same model at the same time, collaborating with one another. Is there the ability to also communicate verbally and visually while you're sketching?
Verbal and the visual thing can be accompanied on a Zoom call if you're connected on a Zoom call. But the design data is the one which gets collaborated on our platform. And it's real-time synced.
So you just use other tools for that. I want to jump right out to the future. If you succeed in your vision for Snaptrude and it's everything you dreamed it would be, what does the future of the design workflow look like for architects?
The way I would love to phrase it is we see a future where the promise of BIM, like I always say, BIM has been a promised land that has never arrived. The reason being that the core advantage of BIM was a single source of truth, which right from early stage design to construction, even on the site, everybody refers to that one single source of truth. And even beyond construction for facility management, also it was supposed to be the case. But we have seen how BIM today has just become a way to produce drawings, which of course are important. But I think as we develop a cloud-first ecosystem, we have a real potential to relook at this as a collaborative and intelligent design mechanism, which is the single source of truth exists on the cloud. Nobody is referring to files anymore. It's all this project. And everybody is absorbing the information which they need in that context. Everybody, which I mean is every stakeholder involved in that project, right from design to construction. Like an engineer is looking at their information which is required for them to take their design forward. General contractor is looking at bill of quantities, how to schedule this information, how to look at drawings out of this BIM model. And everybody is taking the bits and pieces of information from the single source of truth. So we call it as an operating system for construction when we succeed at our vision to do it. So somebody who's on the site, who's a site engineer, has Snaptrude open on their iPad and has the drawings updated right over there, raises an RFI. The architect gets a notification, gets on the same project because everybody is on the single source of truth, quickly resolves that RFI. 3 people get notification to sign it off, and the sign off is logged in the ecosystem. And the person standing on the site gets the updated drawings right then and there with updated schedules. Not in a matter of weeks, in a matter of maybe a few hours. And this is what we imagine when we succeed, the future of this entire design to construction ecosystem would look like.
Do you think that there will be an evolution of drawings? Because when I imagine the future that drawings are no longer part of that workflow, right? It goes from a model directly into construction, that there becomes a workflow that allows the single source of truth to be the model, right? And different ways of acquiring the information that we need from that model in different ways, but there would be no set of drawings, quote unquote. What do you think of that?
As far as I would love for it to be true, but I think drawings going away is a bit of a wishful thinking for the next decade or so. As far as we love it or hate it, but I think they're an absolute necessary given the way architecture and the contractor and the owner relationship works today.
So it's a legal issue that's causing the delay.
Yes. But in spite of it being a necessity to create drawings, which is a mechanism in which an architect, I see it as a language. So they've created a language which an architect uses to communicate to a contractor how to build. In very, very simple terms, it's like the IKEA handbook, which all normal people can understand, but like this is more at a sophisticated level. But the ability to use such instruction manuals in a digital first ecosystem is much better because you can actually do like animations and show the dimensions in context. You can show the annotations in context. And we've started seeing that side of thing has happened. Whenever we get drawings today, which go into construction, they get re-uploaded either into Autodesk Docs or Bluebeam, which again, somebody is using an iPad to access them because you can zoom in and understand what does this dimension look like,
right,
rather than on a paper. But the ability or the reason to generate the drawings is still a legal requirement. Those drawings now end up as PDF and become part of a digital workflow again. So I think there will be 2 ecosystems in the future, which is one is the legal requirement of producing those drawings. And then there will be a digital way in which everybody would love to work, which is contextual drawings on the digital first mechanism, which could be Snaptrude in time to come, where we have whatever information which we need available at the fingertips. I just want to know this wall detail. You click that wall detail and you get it. You don't have to go to page number 472 to understand this wall's detail.
Right, exactly. You click on the part of the model and it gives you whatever information you're looking for. That's what I imagine too. And I agree with you, not within the next 10 years. But certainly sometime in the future, we're going to have significant portions of construction being handled by robots, no doubt. Much of the process that we're talking about will be run by AI and tools that are intuitive and doing things that are repetitive and automated. But still, there will be much of the work that architects do will still be required, especially the human to human connection, right? There are people still, even in the future, there are still people involved in the process. And so therefore the architect is still a requirement.
The way I say the role of an architect, which I've grown to realize, is they add soul to a building, which no machine or an AI will possibly be able to do.
Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. As an architect or firm owner, you might find yourself swamped with drawings that take up most of your day, leaving you with little time to manage your business. MGS Global Group can lighten your load by handling all of your drafting and rendering needs. Their experienced team of architects and designers can convert your schematic designs into DDs and CDs with minimal supervision. With expertise in industry-leading tools like Revit, ArchiCAD, and more, MGS is the perfect partner for managing your project spikes and urgent tasks. They work as an extension of your team and follow your standards to ensure the quality and accuracy of your drawings. Having served sole practitioners, small firms, and publicly traded companies since 2008, MGS guarantees you get the help you need right when you need it. Visit mgsglobalgroup.com and book your free consultation today. That's mgsglobalgroup.com. ARCAT's Spec Wizard is the tool that will help you save time writing specifications. Going through the manufacturer's specification line by line to find the right product leads to frustration and errors, and that's where Spec Wizard comes in. It's a free, patented tool that allows you to select products and options error-free and generate a 3-part specification in minutes. Go to arcat.com, that's ARCAT.com, and try Spec Wizard today. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the Entre Architect community. But I love the vision cast and just imagine what could be. And I agree with you that it is the regulations and the authorities that would stand in the way of this, the legal relationships among the parties. I think that too will be overcome in time, not in 10 years, but over time it will be overcome. We'll have to, right? It'll have to evolve and it'll just be slow, like everything in our profession has always been relatively slow compared to other industries. But it's very interesting to think about what the future could hold. I've always imagined in terms of design software that there's such a big opportunity for an independent player to come here and reinvent the entire process. Because the big three right now have been around for decades. And from my understanding, the code source of those tools are decades old. And in order to reinvent the thing that they're doing without blowing it up and starting over, it becomes very complicated to innovate and create new ways of doing things when your code base, and I don't know, I'm not a coder, I don't know anything about developing, but starting from scratch, you have a much better opportunity, like yourself, to reinvent the way we design. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's a classic innovator's dilemma. Like people who are already crossed the finish line and in the market for years and years, or maybe decades, they already have existing customers, they have a legacy code base, they have their legacy customers to address and serve them. And in these kind of scenarios, you always see that new trends emerge and new trends come in as waves, which lead newer players to leapfrog the existing ecosystem. And we fundamentally believe that cloud and the ability for cloud to enable so many integrations is one such wave or trend that we are seeing, which has touched every other industry which we can think of. Like we can see the successes in other design tools where Figma has reasonably disrupted Adobe. And I think we will start seeing a similar workflow pattern emerge out in our field. And which is, I think, generally good for the industry because the latest technology can add or remove a lot of inefficiencies in the ecosystem, which everybody is facing because of this decade-old code base, and shows how to take this industry forward. And that also allows the incumbents to learn from it and also like move fast because they don't have any incentive today to move fast and change the way they work.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about your business and the way it's structured? $21 million to date, a little more than $21 million, $21.8 million, I think, in investment. I think a lot of architects are curious about how startups work and how they get funded. Basic question, what does the team look like that's developing Snaptrude? How big is your company?
It's closer to about 80 people right now. And as it's a very heavy engineering software, it's a lot of people who are engineers, software engineers, right from people who understand geometry and math a lot deeply to people who understand graphics engines, algorithms, and developing software on the cloud, the entire cloud ecosystem. That's where most of the team is. Plus, we have a lot of architects within the team. So we have an engineering and a product team. The product team is largely people who are within the industry, who have had varied background in computational design, computational geometry, and practicing architects who inform the engineering team of how to approach problems, how to solve those problems, and also are talking to customers. And then very recently, as we started becoming a business, we were very much in a stealth mode for the first 5.5 years.
I've noticed that because, all of a sudden you came out of nowhere and then we hear about you all over.
Yeah, so we wanted it to be ready before we actually make some noise. Otherwise, it's basically empty vessels making noise. So we then started having a really strong go-to-market team on the sales and the marketing side. This has been a recent last 1.5 year kind of an approach for us. That's how the team is created or distributed so far.
So at this point, give me a scenario. If I had a project, let's say it was a small multi-family residential project, what would the process look like by starting on Snaptrude?
Sure. So the way we have architected the entire process on starting a project in Snaptrude is it gives you the flexibility and the ease of use which you enjoy with SketchUp and Rhino, but with the advantages which you see in BIM software like Revit for that matter. So it's like, what if Revit could work like SketchUp in very simple terms? So you would start the project on Snaptrude by just logging into a website on any device, be it a Mac or a Windows. You can just go to the site context. Like you can go to actually a map, type in the site location, and you can actually get the entire site topography, which is in 3D, along with the neighborhood context, neighborhood building surrounding this project. You can start sketching out the site, create setbacks, start adding how many floors you want with it, which is basically the shell of the building before you start detailing it out. Then if you want to start actually creating units out of it, either you could just do it like a knife, like just start slicing the cakes of those sketches, or you could bring them in from a spreadsheet. So if you have a spreadsheet which gives you a program of you need X number of units, each unit should have X number of bedroom, living room, studios, or this kind, you can take that spreadsheet and bring that in and start stacking them together in the envelope which you have been able to create. And you can start studying this envelope with respect to the sun path, the shadow analysis, because the latitude and longitude is already picked up based on the site. So you can start doing some early sustainable studies. And when you're fine with the envelope and the program, all you need to do is just click one button and it would create what we call as a BIM model from just the sketch which you had initially created. And it would add all your wall assemblies, slab assemblies, floors, all the details which are required. And you can then detail it out further or take it to Revit without having to lose any data. So you can just take it to Revit. And the same thing also applies like you went to Revit. Now you have taken, say, it to the next level of a project. But the floor number 7 and 8, there's a request that has come in that you want to change it into a penthouse. So you can bring it back into Snaptrude from Revit, the entire file. The 7th and the 8th floor could be turned into a penthouse detailed because there's a very big customer waiting only for those 2 floors. You can make changes to it with all levels of fidelity. And when you're done with it, take it back into Revit. And while you're in Snaptrude, you can study your costing, your analysis, your area schedules. Square footage is always updated. You can configure your square footage to your local regulations. We are adding the capability to measure embodied carbon and total carbon in real time as you're making changes to the design. So all of this data keeps following your design decisions.
I love that. The idea that it evolves as you design, it's updating all of the data and giving you information back while you're designing it. One of the things that I often think about in terms of that is code check. As we're designing, could it be doing a code analysis? And when we're finished, it's actually telling you whether it meets all of the state and local regulations. I'm assuming that's not there now, but what is your thought in terms of the future? Do you think that will be part of what you're doing in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we do include some of the parameters around the local code. We handle things like the square footage, the net square footage, gross square footage, FAR, envelope restriction. And we are adding more things like fire exits, the routes, the egress, all of those things are very much being prototyped and handled in the product roadmap for time to come.
Yeah. One of the things when I futurecast again, that's one of the things I think of is that there will be a day when we're finished with our design. It has already done the code analysis that the regulations that the authorities are going to need, and they're not going to need to do a full code review because all they'll need is proof, certification that this project meets code, and it'll be certified from the software saying this project meets code, goes to their system, gets submitted to their system. Their system literally just documents that this building meets code, and then it goes to construction, right? And you reduce months and months or potentially years in some places of code review to literally zero, that it's really just a submission that the building meets code. Do you imagine that that sort of scenario would happen someday?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, more importantly, code review and measuring data would inform your design decisions. So as you're making changes,
Right.
it'll actually flag you're making a mistake over here. Please reconsider your decision. And in that way, we might eventually look at like something which is always code compliant as you're designing. And as you go into more deeper workflows where coordination becomes important, we call it as like a clash-free one. The entire exercise of doing coordination with so many third-party stakeholders where you're arguing over who gets a priority at this location.
Yeah.
What if everybody's on the same page? So they're designing considering that this column exists here. So let's design the pipe around it. I think all of these problems might become problems in hindsight as newer tools start addressing it from this standpoint.
Yeah, it's exciting to dream. It's exciting to see it happening. And as we're witnessing, much of that dream is real and is happening right now with Snaptrude. So I'm excited about that. Altaf, before we jump off here, I'd love to ask your thoughts on my final question that I ask all my guests. What is one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
I think for a small architectural firm versus a large architectural firm, one thing which I've realized is the enterprise and the larger architectural firm use technology as a lever to win projects and make their mark. Like the entire concept of sustainability as metrics, embodied carbon, all of these presentations as part of their concept and schematic presentations exist because they can leverage their computational design team, software engineers that they've hired. But whereas a small architectural firm cannot really leverage that. But what today smaller firms can do is there is off-the-shelf technology which is available, which can actually help them accelerate on this bit and make much better presentations to win better projects right at the concept stage. And that will also not just improve in getting more revenue in the door, but also will help improve their bottom line. Today, at the end of the day, AEC is infamous for having low margins. And especially in a smaller architectural firm, the margins are just barely into the double digits. If you want to take it higher, what you have to do is reduce your bottom line and identify where the inefficiencies are. And I think technology can be a crucial enabler in pushing this up.
His name is Altaf Ghanihar. Snaptrude is the company, snaptrude.com. You can learn all about what Altaf and his team are doing. Go check it out at snaptrude.com. Altaf, thank you for coming by here and sharing your knowledge at Entree Architect Podcast.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. It's a pleasurable conversation.
If you liked this episode of Entree Architect Podcast, please share a link to this episode with a friend. Either just click the share button or highlight the URL, and send the link to this episode with a friend, because that's how Entre Architect has grown to serve thousands more architects just like you throughout the 10 plus years of Entre Architect. That's how we've grown, architect to architect. So I would love for you to share this episode and all the episodes with one friend every week. Would love that. And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We don't have an episode if there's no sponsors. So thank you to our sponsors. Links to those sponsors, which you should go visit and click, and all the resources that we discussed today for this specific episode, they are all available at entrearchitect.com/podcast. Every episode that we've recorded is there, entrearchitect.com/podcast. Go click the links to the sponsors and say hello. Entre Architect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. You should go visit that at gablemedia.com. That is the next evolution of interactive media and resources for the AEC community. You can now earn continuing education credits for listening to select episodes of this podcast, Entre Architect Podcast. Yes, AIA CEUs for listening to a podcast. It's there, and many other podcasts are there as well, and you can listen to all of them and get credit. Learn more about our program, Gable Members Program, at the gablemedia.com/members website. That's GABL media.com/members. And if you are a small firm architect, join us today at Entre Architect Network. That is the worldwide organization for small firm entrepreneur architects. If you own your own architecture firm, you are an entrepreneur architect. You are an Entre Architect. With weekly live group business coaching, we have business coaching there, monthly live business training with AIA CEUs, 2 a month, so 24 AIA credits per year, including 12 of those are HSWs. We have them in the membership. Business resources, all the resources you need to run your business, special session webinars, mastermind groups, and a thriving community of small firm architects just like you. Hundreds of architects are there waiting for you to join. So we provide the support and encouragement you need to succeed as a small firm architect. I know that you haven't been trained as a business person when you launched your firm. That's what we do. Come learn how to run a business at Entre Architect Network. And today you can go join right now for free for 30 days at this link, entrearchitect.com/30 days. We'll give you free 30 days for membership. Go check it out at entrearchitect.com/30 days, and I will see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Entre Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and I want you to remember 3 words: love, learn, share. Have a great day.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short-haul frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.